Private podcasting on Castos with our new Zapier integration can make monetizing your podcast extremely easy. The potential is endless with Zapier and a lot of the marketing triggers that we use on a lot of platforms, right? Not only just Castos, but with Gravity Forms, with MailChimp, with all these marketing automation tools. Now we can connect through Zapier your private podcast on Castos to your listeners. It's a great way to add value-add after-show premium content that they can't get anywhere else except now in their podcast players. Let's take a look at setting this up on Castos. I'm on my Castos dashboard, and I already have a private podcast set up. I have other videos on this channel on how to configure this. Go ahead and check those out in the description. But let's just take a look at the settings of this private podcast. This distribution is set to private. Podcast is private. And what we have down here are the subscriber section. And when somebody signs up through our Zapier connection, you'll see them appear right here. Or I could just click on Add Subscriber, fill out the name, the email, and Castos will automatically send them an email with a private link to your private podcast. But we're going to make this a little bit easier. Today, we're going to use Gravity Forms and Zapier. Gravity Forms, of course, being one of the most popular forms for WordPress. We're going to make that connection, throw it on our site, and then have a little subscribe form. Let me show you how to configure that. First thing we're going to do is log into our Zapier account. And at the time of this recording, Castos is invite only on Zapier, but by the time maybe you're researching this, it'll be publicly available. But the first thing we want to do is go ahead and search for Castos. So Castos, you'll see right here, it says by invite only. We're going to click that. It's going to prompt us to drop in our API key. So we go back to Castos. We go to the account and integrations, REST API, and what we do is we grab this API key right here, return to our dropdown, paste it in, hit yes and continue, and that will solidify the handshake, if you will, with Castos and Zapier. So now it's ready to go. We can make Zaps connected to this website. So let's configure the first Zap. I'm going to click on Make a Zap. We're going to start with Gravity Forms because it has to start with a submission first. That's the trigger that's going to make your Zap connection fire away. And we're going to say create a new submission. When a new Gravity Form submission comes through, we're going to trigger this Zap. We're going to hit continue. And what we need is this hook, this webhook, which again communicates back and forth, for lack of a better term, from Zapier to your website. So we're going to copy this. We're going to click continue. And then at this point, it's going to say, hey, can we test this trigger? Can we make sure that this is working first? But let's go to our website. Let's create a new form. We'll call this private podcast form. Now I'm using Gravity Forms. It's one of my favorite forms for WordPress. You can use others like Ninja Forms, WP Forms, anything that has a Zapier add-on. You have the potential to use this to collect this email. So let's go advanced field. We'll do name. We're going to make this really easy. We're just going to do name and email address, right? That's all we really want. We want the name of the person in their email in order to get this person subscribed to our private podcast. Coincidentally, and in other videos, what you could also do is put a price using a contact form. So a lot of contact forms have e-commerce solutions or purchases or donations that you can configure. I won't do that in this video, but maybe in future videos if you want it. Somebody can actually drop in money here, right? Drop in some money, pay to be on this private podcast, if you will. So we've created our form, super basic, name and email. And for Gravity Forms, we're going to go into settings and then the Zapier screen. Let's go into that. We're going to hit add new, and we're just going to call this private podcast. Doesn't really matter. It's more of a reference or an administrative thing. And it's going to ask for that webhook URL that we copied. So I'm going to paste that right in here. And we'll leave everything pretty much default for now. So we'll hit save Zapier feed. And now the connection is made on the Gravity Form side. Let's go back to Zapier. We'll test this trigger. It's going to hopefully confirm it, fingers crossed. So boom, it confirmed it. It says we found a request, finds the website that it's on, and we can hit continue. And now, well, what do we want to do? What do we want to do after Gravity Forms submits this form? Well, for our sake, we wanted to create a subscriber to Castos. And at this time, this is the action that we have for Castos. In the future, we'll probably enhance this a little bit more, but create a private subscriber. That's what we want to do. Hit continue. And it's going to ask us, well, which account do we want to do it on? I've already configured it there, and we'll hit continue. And then it's going to say, which podcast do we want to connect it to? We can see we want it to go to the secret podcast, which you'll see on my dashboard. The secret podcast is right there. So we'll go back. We'll say, yes, we want it to go on the secret podcast. And the email address will be what? Well, it'll be the email field from the Gravity Forms. And then the name field will be the name field from the Gravity Form. We'll hit continue. It's going to do its magic. It's going to make sure everything is configured properly, and then you can test and continue. If everything is connected successfully, your API key, your webhooks, your Gravity Forms, it's going to say test was successful. It ran a little test, and then we can click on turn the Zap on. Now, if we go, we'll close that screen. If we go back to our Castos account, click on secret podcast, podcast settings, distribution, podcast is private. You'll see right here, there is the Mr. Bilbo Baggins ring bearer test email that Zapier connected, so we can confirm that it is working properly. But let's go and drop this on a page in WordPress. So if we go to our pages, we might create a new page called Secret Podcast. And we will drop in our Gravity Form, private podcast form, right into our page editor. We'll hit publish, publish again, and we can view the page. Now, like I said, you can get pretty technical or unique, however, simple or as technical as you want with your form. You can accept donations, maybe sell something, maybe survey somebody first on your private podcast. Like, why do you want this private podcast? It's a great way to get feedback, of course. But the trigger will be as soon as somebody hits submit, the name and the email address, which is all Castos cares about right now for private podcasters. Once we accept that through Gravity Forms, it gets submitted to our private podcast, and then Castos.com sends that email address a special link through email, of course, to click on and subscribe to the show. I have, again, other videos that describe that. I will link them up. So let's just go Bob Smith, and then we'll do just Matt at Castos.com. Submit. Gravity Forms submits. It says, thank you for contacting us. Again, with Gravity Forms, you can configure what the thank you message will say. You might want to say something like, thanks for subscribing to the private podcast. And if we go back to our Castos account, hit refresh on this page, distribution, scroll down a bit. There's Bob Smith, Matt at Castos.com. That's my private subscriber. And again, that connection is made through Zapier. You can always come into Castos and add it automatically. We have other integrations with other membership services and plugins, but Zapier is an amazing piece of technology that will connect a lot of your forms or your e-commerce stores, whatever you can imagine. In fact, if you can think of something that you're going to use Zapier to connect your private podcast with, let us know in the comments below. It's Castos.com. It's private podcasting. Look, I think it's an amazing way. Of course, I'm biased. I mean, I'm here at Castos, but I think private podcasting is an amazing way to deliver extra value to your listeners. A great way to monetize a show. Like maybe you have this real premium content that you're only saving for folks who are on this list. And then again, with Zapier and with Gravity Forms and the flexibility we have with WordPress, maybe you can monetize this through WooCommerce or Gravity Forms or whatever you want to use. As long as that transaction is made and handed off through Zapier, you can do some pretty interesting things with private podcasting only on Castos.com. Check it out. Leave us a comment below. Let us know how you're going to use it. Are you going to use private podcasting in a new way that maybe we haven't thought of? Let us know. Thumbs up if you liked the video. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you want to check out podcasting, Castos.com. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you in the next video.